Hi, girls. This is Mrs. Rose. Although this isn't probably the way you envisioned beginning the year and meeting your teacher, this is my best attempt. Since I am going to be in to see you next week, I thought I'd first start off by recording a few helpful hints for tomorrow's lab. Yes, it's on density, and hopefully this is a topic you may have heard of before. Perhaps you played sink and swim in the pool this summer if you were working or playing with younger children, or you remember doing this as a child, diving for things in the deep end, etc. Some things float, some things sink. The concept of density revolves around this concept of sink and swim. What makes something sink in a liquid? What makes something else float in a liquid? It has to do with the concept of density. That's the purpose of the lab in general, but for this particular lab, this lab is what we would call quantitative. What does quantitative mean? That's a good question. Quantitative is a way at looking at the numerical value of data that you're going to collect. So instead of just saying, oh, it floats or it sinks on water, we want to actually know the density of something, the numerical value. And so for this lab, the question that I have for you is, what are you trying to determine the density of? How many objects are there that you are personally going to measure and determine the density of for this lab? Can you answer that question? If you don't know the answer, then you didn't read the introduction carefully enough. You might want to pause this podcast, press the little double blue arrow or double blue line to pause it, and then go back and reread the introduction to the lab. Okay? If not, then keep on going. We'll go to the next slide. When you're doing the lab tomorrow, time is of the essence. Kind of like the lighting the Bunsen burner, etc. lab, you had to work quickly. This lab is another one. You do need to work quickly. The nice thing about this lab is that from a safety standpoint, it's probably not as, I guess scary might be the right word to use here. So the thing that you need to be concerned with is, are you making your measurements accurately and with the proper precision? In other words, are they correct when you measure the length of your cylinder? Are you recording the measurement correctly? Are you saying that it's 2.5 centimeters? Or are you saying it's 25 centimeters? Or is it 2.8 centimeters? Make sure that you measure more than once. You measure, your partner measure. Do you get the same number? If you don't, why don't you agree? Those are the things you should be thinking about. And then when you record your data, be sure you record the data in the proper spot in your data tables. Next thing to talk about are some general things to think about. And there's a wide variety of questions. What I would do if I were you right now is to look at each of these questions, and if you don't know the answer, press the pause button. See it right over here. There should be a pause button. Press the pause button. Give yourself time. Reread the lab. Can you answer each of these questions here? If you cannot, again, you need to learn to read the introduction and even the description of the techniques more carefully before beginning lab tomorrow. In order to move through the lab independently with your partner, with confidence and efficiently, you need to know ahead of time what you're doing. You need to be comfortable with what you have to do in order to move through the lab in a safe and timely fashion. How do you do that? By reading carefully and having a clear picture in your head before you come into class tomorrow what you're going to do. So let's just pause now, press the pause button, and answer these questions. All right. Here's the answer key to each of those questions. How did you do? If you aren't getting the same answer to these, perhaps again, you need to go back and reread. Working independently in lab is a skill that will be developed. This is very different than what you've ever done before. And in order for you to feel comfortable doing labs this year, one of my goals is to help you. How do we do that? Probably the best way would be by way of a podcast, such as this. I hope this has been helpful. And let's see, final note. When you finish your lab tomorrow, you'll be recording the density of the 3 things that you measured. You can either do it during class if you have time, or if you're pressed for time during class and need to clean up and get to your next class on time, then simply upload it to the Student Share folder. And that can be found using this. You're familiar with this. Go to Student Share, go to the folder that we have for chemistry, CP Chem Rose, go to first quarter, and this document. Upload your results to that. Okay? Good luck, and I hope everything goes well.